If you've enjoyed the content we've made so far in 2024, we're asking you to pick up a Kinda Funny membership on patreon.com/kindafunny or youtube.com/kindafunnygames to say thanks as part of August's Kinda Funny membership drive. That 10 spot would get you access to more than 130 exclusive episodes of content. And to give you a taste, we're posting one of the exclusive Gregways just like this each and every Saturday and Sunday in August. On top of that, make sure you join us for weekly public happy hours where we take Patreon member calls live for everyone as previews of what a Kinda Funny membership gets you each and every month.
What's up, Kinda Funny members? Welcome to your Gregway for today, whenever this posts, because we're pre-recording this and gonna drop it in as a Gregway whenever it makes sense for y'all. I'm welcoming you, the Kinda Funny members, but more importantly, I'm welcoming one Roger Bacorny on the other side of the camera here, because I'm gonna walk you and Roger through how to start up the Kinda Funny studio, what my morning process and Kevin's morning process is like whenever we're getting ready for Games Daily. Because fun fact, I don't know if y'all know this, Kevin Coelho is going to be a father at the end of this year, sometime in October. I think has he said the due date yet, or when they're expecting? But later this year, Kevin is going to be a big old baby daddy, and so with that, he's going to be on parental leave, which makes me the one kind of main production person. But that's why we have Roger around to help us whenever Kevin's gone or I'm gone. And so with that, when Kevin is gone, Roger's going to be helping with production stuff. So we were talking like Roger wanting to record a video on like the whole starting up process and a bunch of other processes. And I thought, you know, it'd be a fun Gregway, because I'm sure there's some of you out there who are interested in this kind of stuff. So let's get in here. So in the morning, this is the control room. And the first step here, we're actually going to go to our rack over here. We're going to turn on down here. This is our box for our wireless microphone. So whenever, you know, we're doing a stream, they got the lavs. This is the box that connects those lavs to our soundboard. So these are the first things we turn on, and I'll talk about why in just a minute. And while we're here, while we're turning on the wireless lavs, we're also going to turn on this computer, which is our main computer for the wall. So whenever you see the cool backdrop with the front desk images and all that stuff, that is being ran by this computer solely. And then we're going to go over here, and we're going to turn on our big beefy boy that runs the streams and recordings and all of that stuff. So we turn those things on, and we'll get back over here in just a minute. So now I'm going to take you over to, we're going to go from left to right over here. So a fun little thing, this isn't a permanent situation. By the time that this becomes relevant for Roger, we may not have this anymore. But as of right now, we have all of these kind of like backlights. Right now it's themed for Kinda Funny Games Daily, and in the morning this would usually be on blackout. We would unblack it out and it would turn all of these lights on. The reason why we're not going to do that quite yet right now is because this is also tied to the lights in the lab, and the boys are streaming Pokemon right now. The ultimate goal is to have these lights actually tied into our main light system, but that's going to take some time. So just in case if that's still the situation by the time Roger, you're a part of this, maybe we use this, maybe we don't. And then we also have a bunch of different scenes. So right now, it's set to Games Daily, but we also have a nice little X-Cast that'll turn green and yellow, a nice little Games Cast for, the basic Games Cast colors, all that stuff. So, and right now I'm changing these colors, but it doesn't affect the color change in the lab. This is just for changing colors in here. So now we're going to go left to right. This is our main lighting computer. We're going to turn that on. Roger, for your note, the on button is back behind this bottom right corner over here. Then we're going to go and turn on our soundboard. Now, the reason why we turned on the lavs first before we turn on the soundboard is if we turn the soundboard on first, and that power button is in the back right here, the reason we turn on the lavs first, if we turn on the soundboard first and then the lavs are going to pop those audio channels. And just for the health of everything, we prefer not to have that happen for the soundboard. And that's another reason why we'll go back to the rack in just a minute. Hold on, I'm going to put this over here just for now. And so the soundboard's on. Now let's we use this remote here to turn on our main screen for the wall computer, and then we have all of these little screens over here that also help us with the wall computer. And these are Shogun Infernos, which, fun fact, are typically used for like gameplay capture. If you work at like an IGN or a GameSpot, you bring these bad boys around to preview events to be able to capture whatever footage you need for like a game or whatever. This is what we have to be able to use for screens for a computer. So we're going to turn these on. These buttons are in the top right corner for each of these. You just need to do a simple press to turn each of them on. And so now we've got our back wall computer and our main computer on. And then the last thing we really need to turn on in here are the TVs up here. You can use one remote if you kind of angle it at the perfect kind of angle.
Oh, look at
you can
you.
use it to turn on both TVs at once.
Love that.
Sometimes it doesn't always work, so if only one turns on, you got to use the other remote to turn the other one on. And so now we're gonna go back here. And this is just kind of the timing of how long it takes for these computers to start up. It's a kind of like you're kind of constantly going around in a whirlwind. So now that our lighting computer is started up, we go over here. This is EOS. This is the software that we use for our lighting system. We're going to hit primary on there. And as you'll see in just a minute, it'll probably take a little bit. Our lights will kind of start moving around and start warming themselves up. Now, we're going to go back to our other two main computers here, and I'm going to enter in the passcode. So, Roger, I need you to turn away.
I'm going to point right here.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to enter that in. Roger knows the passcode. So
should I press startup right here?
So hold on. I want to show you. I want the video to capture all of that. So these two computers are on. So let's go back over here. We've got startup over here on EOS. We're gonna hit startup. Now you can see like the lights are starting to think a little bit, warm themselves up. And then for over here is where we have the Stream Deck that controls all of the lights, what different sets we all have. As you see, for starting up the day, we're gonna start with a Games Daily. So you go to Games Daily, go to Games Daily up just to kind of get the standing kind of lights over there. We also have Games Daily In, which are the moving lights, which you can probably won't start up just because the whole system is still turning itself on. Now let's see here. What else do we need to do before we go into the studio itself? So over here on our main wall computer here, we're going to open up OBS Studio. And this was actually something that Roger yourself thought of.
It was an accident.
So, when the studio was being built, Kevin and Nick were trying to figure out ways of like, how do we put the sets up onto this big screen? And Roger had the idea of like, oh, well, you can have, what's it called? Window projector for OBS, where, you build everything in OBS. And then you right click and hit windowed projector, and it does a little pop out over here. And that's why we have all of these screens over here. We have Discord open on the incorrect screen. If that ever happens, we go here and you got it. It's really tiny, and you gotta like unclick full screen, and then it's gonna go over here, and then you can minimize it. Always a fun time. So, and that only happens every once in a while. It's always very, very fun when it happens. And so, to get this up on the wall, we're just going to stretch this out across all of these screens over here until we hit this far right one. And this reflects these four, reflect different screens. So these three reflect the front monitors on the desk. And then this screen right here actually reflects whenever we plug in the video floor. And so we kind of use that as like our kind of big basis of like really stretching it out and having it go all the way over here, and then we pull the windowed kind of capture down all the way on this screen here, and then we pull, I've lost the mouse, where'd the mouse go? There it is. And so then we pull the windowed screen up, and then I personally kind of look up to the studio itself, and then whenever the black or the white bar kind of leaves the screen, that's where I stop. And then, if we look back over here, the windowed capture, we pull it over and get it all the way perfectly aligned right here. And so once we turn on cameras, we'll be able to see kind of like where things have lined up. every once in a while you might need to do a little zhuzhing and a little bit of cheating to try to get lined up, centered, and all that. But we'll get to that in just a second. And so now we have our software opened up on our main computer. Opened up. We've got Cedar, which is the software we use for the jib. And that is a proprietary software, I believe, that's specifically for the jib from the company that we bought it from in China. Yeah. We've got OBS. We'll talk about OBS in a second. Discord we use for whenever call-ins are happening. Whenever someone calls into a show, we bring Discord up here because this will be the screen that we use to capture anybody who is calling in. But we need to turn on our camera, so let's go over here. And let's get into this video. What's up, Greg?
I'm eating Chinese food.
Whoa!
So now we get to the big set. We gotta turn on our cameras. We got our on-off switches right here. I'm forgetting which type of cameras these are off the top of my head. Just for the people who would really want to know. But these are Black Magics, I believe. But just whatever kind of models they are, I am unfamiliar with. And then so that is our camera 1, which would go to the host seat. This is camera 2, which is our main wide shot here. This is camera 7. This is like a newer camera that we've been kind of playing around with whenever there's like, let's say we want to use our main wide shot here for like a full cast of 4 or 5 people. But then we have a lot of crosstalk, maybe people in the center want to talk to each other, and like how do we best capture that? So we've been bringing in this camera whenever we do like a 4 or 5 person show to have it be more of like a center shot where we can have like 2 people in the center of a show having their own camera there. We don't use it very often, but it's nice to have when we need it. And then we've got camera 3 over here, which is our solo shot for whoever is the co-host for the day on A Games Daily. And then we've got our camera for the jib up here. This is camera 4. We turn this on, and then we hit this red button right here that connects it, that turns on the actual jib itself, and then connects it, I think, through Wi-Fi to the Cedar software over there. And then if the Cedar software is ever finicky, or for whatever reason we need to do a manual control of the jib, we press this blue button right here. And then maybe it's still turning on. Maybe it was too early. Yeah, so when that blue button's on, then it's safe to actually like move the jib around. And this is like only for kind of like emergency situations, or if you ever need to move the jib and are too lazy to run back into the control room, you can just kind of do it here. So those are all on, but then the other important aspect that I will often forget about while trying to run and do a million different things setting up for Games Daily. This is our chat computer. So this is where we'll project onto the set where the host can see the chat. So I'm going to turn this on. That always takes a second. And so then these TVs are off. We have these 2 remotes to turn these TVs on. And so the left TV is where the hosts see chat. And then the right TV is where hosts get their confidence monitor. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. And then this is where the hosts will react to, like, this is where we'll project, like, if there's ever a showcase or whatever, this is where they watch that off of. So then we go back over here. Roger, I'm going to enter in another password.
Whoa! Whoa! Everybody.
All right. Come back, Roger. Come back.
Trying to distract them.
Kind of by default, the 2 things that I have here are our Restream chat. Restream chat is very helpful for when we're multi-streaming to Twitch and YouTube, because it puts both of those chats together so we can have it all in one place. And then I've got like a time, like a clock here. If there's ever a like embargoed show or anything, we'll hit F11. Wrong one. It will hit F11, just full screen the time there for if we're ever recording an embargoed review or embargoed anything, or just anything that's not live. As like kind of like just to have the show host kind of like know where the time is at if they ever need to wrap up soon or whatever. But I usually prioritize when we're live full screening that chat there. So if we go back over to the TVs over here, you'll be able to see again the boys are streaming Pokemon right now, so all of that's tied to what they're streaming right now. And so yeah, and then fun fact, if the boys are streaming using Restream in Station 1, and we're doing, let's say, an in-review, right? That is being streamed to 2 different YouTube streams. We've got the YouTube Patreon stream, and then the YouTube direct membership streams. And what I'll do there, I'll bring up the chats of both of those as kind of separate entities. up there from the back end of YouTube. So that's what we do out here. Now let's go back to the control room. Doing a lot of talking, Roger.
Yeah, you're doing great.
It's dry.
Oh my
I
gosh.
might need to take a sip of a little Coke Zero here.
Drink Greg's water.
All right. Awesome. So, we've got everything turned on that really needs to be turned on. So the other big thing here, as you can see, this is our jib shot. It's all unfocused, a little hazy, all that stuff. That's always how it's going to start itself up, because I forget why, but it always sets itself to a certain kind of like focus and all this. So what we do is we have all of these preset movements for the jib here. I usually go in sweep 2, and I'll go ready. And as you see, that'll kind of set itself where it needs to go, set the focus correctly. And that is the in sweep 2 movement, is the movement that you'll usually see whenever I'm running a show on Games Daily. So when I hit start, you'll kind of see it kind of go over the wide camera there, and then kind of come back out, all that stuff. And then usually after an intro movement, whether it's the in sweep, Kevin loves to do the intro, like the basic intro movement that we made very early on, where it starts on the floor and then goes up in the camera 2 and then it fades in. Whenever those movements are done, we'll go to ultra slow, we'll hit start, and then we'll hit kind of repeat here. And then a fun thing here, and this is only if things aren't broken, we use a software called Companion that kind of ties a bunch of things together. So if things are working, you can just hit, let's say, cold open and record here, and all of this should kind of run on its own. Not everything is built out yet, because the studio is a constant work in progress, but that is the dream. So whenever a Roger, God forbid a Greg Miller, has to come in here and run a show, we can make it as simple as possible, and they just have to rely on this stream deck that's tied to our main computer that can control OBS, the jib, the sets, the lights, all in one place. And again, that's if everything's working, because every once in a while this computer likes to disconnect from Companion, and we don't know why. So this in the bottom left is our confidence monitor that we project onto the TV out here. So what we do is we go right click and we go full screen projector, not the windowed projector, and we hit decimator, and that'll bring this guy up here. Now, I think that about does it for the most part. I think for at least the Gregway kids, because there's some things on the back end.
Mics, maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about mics, and there is actually one last thing as well. So mics here. This is an interesting one because for the longest time, I know a lot of people are like, hey, like the audio quality is like a little bit low, like the peaks and valleys aren't all kind of like in the places that we want, and so this left right main was our main output. That is now just our monitoring. So that's just what we hear in our headphones.
I didn't know that.
How we fixed the kind of output to OBS to get the levels correctly. Kevin made a major, or actually I should correct myself. I think a Kind of Funny best friend, who I'm blanking on the name of right now, like went into the back end of like X32 and like made a matrix for us that helps kind of like do all of this. So this is our output to OBS, which is different from what we hear in our headphones. So we've been trying to figure out how do we tie this to this and have it all interlinked and interconnected. But again, it's a constant work in progress, and it's all things that are very unique to how we've built and set things up here. So, we're learning, and hopefully we can get there one day, hopefully soon. So in our main groups, though, we've got podcast mics, we've got wireless labs, we've got off-can mics, which would be like the Kev mic, which is right here. And then we've got PC audio. That's whenever we bring up like B-roll and they want to listen to things. And we also have music. This is a very unique one. This is whenever Andy is on an interview and wants to plug in his guitar or keyboard. Just unmute that, mute it, all that good stuff. And then for a Games Daily, we usually use podcast mics 2 and 4. You would think that it would be podcast mics 1 and 2 because there's only 2 hosts. The way that I've personally kind of organized it is like podcast mics that we use are determined on where people are sitting on the set. So 2 and 4, and that's just like where mics 2 and 4 kind of closely live compared to the where people are on the desk and all that, and having that shot. And so let's see. The last big thing when it comes to audio, and this is a step that I'll forget every once in a while until I ask people to do mic checks and then no one responds to me and I'm like, the speakers aren't on. So that's why we come back over here. The last step, and the same reason why we turn this on last, is if we turn this on first and then we turn on the soundboard, that's going to do a big pop. And we don't want that. So this is the last thing we turn on. And that turns on our speakers in there, so whenever I talk, whenever somebody calls in on Discord, that's how our hosts hear it. And Roger, a quick note for you, if there's ever a time where a Discord call-in is like, oh, I kind of hear like an echo of myself, that's where we go into these mics, like the podcast host mics. We go here, we go to gate, and then we kind of bring up the gate just a little bit, because it's usually only like a little bit of a hair where they'll hear themselves. So you just kind of like have to adjust those.
Which knob was that to mess with that?
So that's the far left threshold, and that'll kind of raise or lower your gate there.
Gotcha.
And so I think as far as I'm thinking for Gregway kids, because obviously Roger and I are going to make more of these videos just exclusively for Roger.
Yeah. Because
it's secret stuff that you will never know about. I think the last big thing is just like showing off, like, we've got like our picture-in-picture kind of shot here. There's some things that are not working currently. We usually do a like kind of two-person shot. And for whatever reason, our camera 1, which is like the main host camera, isn't feeding in directly into OBS. As you can see, we have it up here and it's going in here. And so the way that we do it is I can still, let's say, go to studio, still bring up camera 1, but the way we get this two shot of two different cameras is we also have the cameras feeding directly into this computer as their own feeds. And so we're trying to figure that out because, again, technology is lovely and it never breaks. But we also, have a very simple solution, at least a temporary solution right now. We hit this button, that'll take us back and forth between like a two-person kind of shot and then just like the one down in the corner kind of shot there. And then usually this is where I'll pull up Chrome. This is where I'll, I'm going to kind of just do a summary here for the Gregway kids. This is where I'll put on Twitch, YouTube, Restream. This is where I'll get the run of Show for Games Daily. This is where I'll get like our time codes thing. And I have a morning alarm for every 9:25 a.m. and that's usually my personal goal of when I want streams to go up live on YouTube. So that's another thing that I do on the back end every Friday. I pre-make all of the YouTube streams for the week that we're about to go into. And so morning of, I'm not creating streams, I'm just updating streams. So for the Games Daily doc, I'll get the headline from Blessing, copy it over to the YouTube stream, put that publicly, and then now that we're in the Daily Gamescast era, we'll also do setting the Gamescast stream publicly, and then whatever the Jabroni boys are streaming on in the afternoon. And then over in Restream, I can actually show you all how we kind of use this. Is like right now, we can set like different kind of events for different streams, so I'll also preload in, like once those streams are live, I'll preload like the Games Daily stream down here, then I'll preload Gamescast up here, and then once Games Daily is done, we gotta like kind of reorganize this now that we're doing 3 streams a day, to kind of like easily go back and forth and all that stuff, and so we just turn these on and off to kind of direct these streams. And then the last thing, I guess, is like this is also if you're wondering what this top middle screen was for, this is the B-roll screen, so this is for whenever we want to show B-roll. And as you see, it gets projected over here as well. And then the final thing, and again, I can only give a quick summary for the Patreon Gregway kids, or the membership kids, I should say, is the kind of last step in the morning routine is also turning on Station 1 in the lab. And so that's usually where Kevin is sitting during a gameplay stream, whether it's Pokemon whether it's the Jabroni Boys playing Warzone, that is actually the computer that we stream from all the time, even when it's Games Daily and we're doing Games Daily from here. And so the fun thing there is, I'll turn on that computer, you get vMix up, which is the receiver for any streams that we send from stations 2, 3, and 4, where Mike, Andy, and Nick play. That's where we're sending those streams from, and that's how Station 1, the main streaming computer, gets those gameplays. So like just yesterday, Andy was streaming Hades 2 Early Access. That wasn't being streamed directly from Andy's computer. We stream that gameplay to Station 1, and then Station 1 has all of like the overlays and all that stuff. So that's the same concept here. This OBS right now, if I were to start streaming, that would send over to the Station 1 computer where they're playing Pokemon right now. That would be received in vMix, and so that would be one of like the kind of one of the channels that Kevin could bring up if he wanted, for whatever reason, to no longer show the Pokemon gameplay. He could switch over to this feed instead. And that's mainly because we know with Twitch streams and stuff, we want to not like do a weird cut in between Games Daily and like a Games Cast and then a Games Cast and a game stream for like a weird 5 minutes. And so that was like our solution, is like, let's have it all feed into one computer. And so that's why we have that there. And I think that's pretty much it when it comes to what at least I can tell the Gregway kids. I hope y'all got a little bit out of this, kind of understanding all of the things that we have to do just in the morning, which is crazy. And now that I see Gregway speaking in here, it's making me a little bit nervous.
I spilled soy sauce on my computer, but I think it's okay.